Hey everyone, welcome back. You know we love to go deep on topics you guys are interested in, and I gotta say, I'm super intrigued by this one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So today, we're diving into frailty. Thanks to you, actually, for bringing this awesome resource to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're looking at older adults and frailty from the National Initiative for Care of the Elderly in Canada.
Great
And
resource.
I think it's safe to say this is something that affects a lot of us, either directly or, we're thinking about it for our parents or grandparents, or even just down the line for ourselves.
Sure.
But here's what's interesting. I think a lot of people just think of it like, oh, you know, getting older, you just get frail.
Mm.
But there's actually a lot more to it than that.
It's way more than just getting older.
Right. So we're going to break it all down. What is it really? How do you recognize it? And most importantly, what can we do about it?
The big thing for me when I was reading this resource is the idea of frailty syndrome.
Hmm.
Like, it's not just, oh, I'm getting a little weaker. It's like your body is kind of losing its ability to bounce back.
Oh, interesting.
They use this analogy of a rubber band, which I thought was really helpful.
I like that.
You know, when you're young, it's like a brand new rubber band, super stretchy, and it snaps right back.
Yeah.
But over time, it gets a little looser, a little less resilient.
Right. It doesn't have that same snap.
Exactly. And that's kind of what happens with frailty syndrome. Your body just doesn't handle stress as well anymore.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense.
Whether it's a little cold, a change in routine, or even just daily life things, it can take a bigger toll.
So it's not just physical strength. It's like your whole system's ability to adapt is kind of
Yeah, it's like your reserves are lower.
lower. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You're less able to bounce back from those challenges.
So it sounds kind of scary,
Yeah.
but the resource does say that aging increases the risk of frailty. It's not like a guaranteed thing.
Right, it's not a given.
So that's good news, right?
Absolutely. It means we're not all doomed to become frail.
There's something we can do about it.
Exactly. There are things we can do to prevent it or at least slow it down.
Well, that brings up the question of how common is it really?
Yeah. Well, the resource mentions that over 1.6 million Canadians are currently living with frailty, and that number is only going to go up,
Oh, wow.
especially in the next decade.
And I imagine that's probably pretty similar in other developed countries too, right?
I would say so. Yeah, it's definitely a global issue.
So it's not just a Canadian thing. This is something a lot of people listening are probably thinking about.
Right. It's something to be aware of no matter where you live.
So let's say you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, well, how do I even know if I'm becoming frail? Or maybe, how do I know if my mom or dad is starting to show signs?
Right.
The resource talks about these 5 key signs from the Johns Hopkins criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So there's weakness, unintentional weight loss, exhaustion, slow walking speed, and low activity levels.
Yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward, but sometimes it can be hard to know what that actually looks like in everyday life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, it's easy to say weakness, but what does that really mean? So think about it this way. Maybe you used to be able to carry all your groceries in from the car, no problem.
Yeah.
But now just getting those bags to the kitchen feels like a huge effort.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to that.
Or maybe you used to be able to open jars with no problem, but now you need to ask for help or use one of those gadgets.
Totally.
Those could be signs of weakness.
Interesting.
Or let's say you find yourself tripping more often, or your balance isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
That could be related to slow walking speed or low activity levels.
So it's like those everyday things that start to become harder.
Exactly. And the thing is, these changes can happen so gradually that you might not even notice them at first.
You kind of get used to it.
Yeah, you just think, oh, I'm getting older. But it's important to pay attention to those little signs.
Because they can be a sign of something bigger.
Right. They can be early warning signs of frailty.
And the resource even talks about this domino effect,
Oh, yeah.
where frailty makes you more likely to fall or get sick more easily, and then you're at a higher risk of ending up in the hospital or needing long-term care.
It can kind of snowball.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wake-up call for sure.
Definitely makes you want to take it seriously.
So if we want to prevent this domino effect from happening, we need to understand what causes frailty in the first place.
Absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting.
Because it's not just about age.
Right. It's not just about your genes or bad luck.
There are things we can control.
Exactly. The resource highlights a bunch of factors that can contribute to frailty, like lack of exercise.
Yeah, makes sense.
Poor nutrition, social isolation, even being on too many medications.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize medications could play a role.
Yeah, it's something to be mindful of, especially as we get older.
So it's not just a medical issue, it's really about our lifestyle and our social circumstances too.
It's holistic. You have to look at the whole picture.
And that's actually really empowering because it means we have some agency here.
Absolutely. We're not just helpless victims of aging.
We can take steps to prevent or even treat frailty.
Exactly. And the resource lays out 3 key strategies:
Okay, lay it on me.
exercise, diet, and stress management.
Those are good ones. I feel like I hear those all the time, but
Yeah.
is there anything specific they recommend for frailty?
Yeah, they actually get pretty specific about exercise.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about going for walks or, doing some light cardio.
So what are they saying?
They're really emphasizing strength training.
Strength training.
Yeah.
Like lifting weights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about building and maintaining muscle mass, which naturally declines as we age.
Makes sense.
Think about it. All those everyday tasks that start to get harder, like carrying groceries or opening jars,
Yeah.
those all require muscle strength.
True, true.
So lifting weights can actually help you stay independent and functional for longer.
So I guess it's never too late to start hitting the gym.
Never too late. And along with exercise, they also talk about the importance of diet.
Okay, so what should we be eating?
They stress the importance of a balanced diet with plenty of protein,
Protein. Okay.
which makes sense because protein helps your body repair and build muscle tissue.
Oh, I see.
They even give some good examples like low-fat dairy beans, lean meats, and of course lots of fruits and veggies.
So basically just a healthy, balanced diet.
Pretty much, yeah. But with a focus on getting enough protein.
Got it. Okay, so we're lifting weights, we're eating our protein. What about stress management? Where does that fit in?
Well, think about it. Chronic stress takes a huge toll on our bodies.
Yeah, for sure.
It messes with our sleep, our appetite, our energy levels, even our immune system.
Ugh, it's the worst.
And over time, all of that can contribute to frailty.
Makes sense.
So the resource actually links stress management back to things like social engagement and financial planning,
Interesting.
because those are things that can help prevent those big life stressors that can really knock us off balance.
It's all about having that support system and feeling secure.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how interconnected all of this stuff is.
It really is. It's not just about one thing. It's about the whole picture.
And that's actually a really good point that the resource makes.
What's that?
They emphasize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to managing frailty.
Absolutely.
We all have different needs,
Yeah.
different health histories, different goals.
But what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. So it's about finding what works best for you.
And that might involve working with your doctor or a physical therapist or even a dietitian.
It's about getting that personalized advice.
Right. It's not a DIY situation.
So where does this all leave us? Well, first of all, I feel like we've learned a ton.
Yeah, me too.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that frailty is a serious issue,
Definitely.
but it's not inevitable.
We have power here.
Exactly. We can take steps to reduce our risk and build resilience as we age.
And that's a really hopeful message, I think.
It is. It's not all doom and gloom.
But you know what I keep thinking about?
What's that?
The resource focuses a lot on what individuals can do,
Right.
which is super important.
Yeah, of course.
But it makes me wonder, what role can communities and healthcare systems play in supporting these efforts?
Oh, that's such a good point.
Like, how can we make it easier for people to stay active, access healthy food, and build those social connections that are so crucial?
That's a whole other layer to this conversation.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
Because we can't do it all on our own right.
Exactly. We need support from our communities and our healthcare providers.
That's a great point to leave everyone with.
I think so.
So if you're listening and you want to learn more about this, definitely check out the full Older Adults and Frailty resource.
It's full of great info.
It goes into way more depth than we could cover here.
Yeah.
And it's got all kinds of helpful tips and resources.
Definitely worth checking out.
I know I learned a ton from this deep dive, and I hope you guys did too.
It was a good one.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.